Breaking news from around your world on this Friday, March 15th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. At least 49 people were killed in mass shootings at two mosques full of worshippers attending Friday prayers on what the Prime Minister called one of New Zealand's darkest days. One man was arrested and charged with murder in what appeared to be a carefully planned racist attack. Police also defused explosive devices in a car. Two other armed suspects were being held in custody. In addition to the dead, health officials said 48 people were being treated at Christchurch Hospital for gunshot wounds. Injuries ranged from minor to critical. Police took 3 men and a woman into custody after the shootings, which shocked people across that nation of 5 million people. Police said the investigation had extended 360 kilometers to the south, where homes in Dunedin were evacuated around a location of interest. A man who claimed responsibility for the shootings left a 74-page anti-immigrant manifesto in which he explained who he was and his reasoning for the attack. He said he was a 28-year-old white Australian and a racist. Home to nearly 400,000 people, Christchurch is the largest city on New Zealand's South Island. It has been rebuilding since a massive earthquake in 2011 killed 185 people and destroyed many downtown buildings. North Korea is considering suspending nuclear talks with the United States, and its leader may rethink a ban on missile tests, according to news reports from the North's capital on Friday. After the failure of last month's summit of President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, the North's top nuclear envoy said its leadership was considering dropping denuclearization talks. Russia's TASS news agency quoted North Korean Vice Foreign Minister Choi Son-hui as saying, "We have no intention to yield to the U.S. demands at the Hanoi summit in any form, nor are we willing to engage in negotiations of this kind." Kim is set to make an official announcement soon on his position regarding talks with the U.S. and the North's further actions, it added, citing Cho, who was addressing a news conference in the North Korean capital. The comments run counter to optimism displayed by a U.S. negotiator this week, despite the collapse of last month's talks in the Vietnamese capital of Hanoi. That meeting crumbled over differences about U.S. demands for Pyongyang to denuclearize and North Korea's demand for dramatic relief from international sanctions imposed for its nuclear and missile tests. In Beijing, Premier Lee Ki-kong urged patience and more dialogue between North Korea and the United States. The British Parliament voted Thursday requesting a deadline extension for withdrawing from the European Union. Members of Parliament voted 412 to 202 to ask the European Union to push the Brexit deadline from March 29th to at least June 30th, after failing to come to an agreement earlier in the week on the terms of the withdrawal deal. They voted Wednesday against a no-deal Brexit, leaving Prime Minister Theresa May with little choice but to bring the Article 50 extension up for a vote. It is now up to the European Commission to decide whether to grant the deadline extension. It would require all 27 other member states to unanimously accept it. May said Brexit would be extended to June 30th if Parliament agrees to her withdrawal deal by March 20th, but she will ask for a longer extension if there's no agreement by then. MPs also voted 334 to 85 against holding another Brexit referendum. Labour Party leader Jeremy Corbyn offered support for another referendum, though told other MPs in his party to vote against one. The Boeing 737 MAX 8 that crashed in Ethiopia Sunday, killing 157 people, requested permission to return to Addis Ababa Airport 3 minutes after takeoff as it accelerated to abnormal speed, according to information reported by the New York Times. All contact between air controllers and Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302 to Nairobi was lost 5 minutes after it took off, according to a person who reviewed air traffic communications. Within a minute of the flight's departure, Captain Yared Getachew reported a flight control problem as the aircraft was well below the minimum safe height from the ground during a climb, according to the Times report, citing the person. After being cleared by the air traffic controller to turn back within 3 minutes of the flight, Flight 302 climbed to an unusually high altitude and disappeared from the radar over a restricted military zone. The investigation of this latest 737 MAX crash is still in its early stages, and black boxes with details of the flight's final moments arrived in France on Thursday for analysis. Meanwhile, Indonesia will hasten the release of its report on the October crash of Lion Air's Boeing 737 MAX 8. That's according to the head of the nation's Transport Safety Committee on Friday. That crash, which killed all 189 people on board, was the first worldwide of Boeing's new 737 MAX jet. The head of the safety agency, KNKT, told Reuters the investigation into the Lion Air crash would be speeded up, and the report will be released in July and August, earlier than its original timeline of August-September. The cause of the Indonesian crash is still being investigated. A preliminary report by KNKT in November, before the retrieval of the cockpit voice recorder, focused on maintenance and training and the response of a Boeing anti-stall system to a recently replaced sensor, but gave no reason for the crash. Indonesia plans to send a flight inspector and an official from KNKT to Ethiopia to help with the probe into Sunday's crash, pending approval from Ethiopian authorities. The FAA said on Thursday that Boeing's 737 MAX 8 and 9 planes will be grounded for weeks, if not longer, until a software upgrade can be tested and installed. In the interim, Boeing has stopped delivery of all new MAX jets to its customers. The company has more than 5,000 of the jets on backorder. Boeing maintains its new fuel-efficient jets are safe, but supports the FAA decision to ground them. Fearing a financial hit and brand damage, investors have wiped about $26 billion off the company's market value. Israeli military aircraft bombed Hamas facilities in the Gaza Strip Friday, hours after 2 rockets were launched from the Palestinian enclave at Tel Aviv in the first such attack since a 2014 war. Witnesses said powerful explosions from the airstrikes rocked buildings in Gaza and lit the skies over targeted sites. The Israeli military said it was targeting terror sites in Gaza. There was no immediate word of casualties in the airstrikes that hit 6 buildings used by the dominant Islamist group's security forces and which had been evacuated as a precaution. In a possible sign of further escalation, it said rocket sirens were sounded in Israeli communities near the Gaza border. On Thursday night in Tel Aviv, Israel's commercial capital, the sirens howled farther north, set off by what the military said were 2 incoming longer-range rockets from Gaza. That salvo missed built-up areas and caused no casualties or damage. Explosions were heard in Tel Aviv, and witnesses said Iron Dome interceptor missiles were fired skyward and detonated, although the military said no rockets were shot down. But it rattled Israeli nerves ahead of an April 9th election in which Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is seeking a 5th term on the strength of his national security credentials. A dozen defecting Republicans joined Senate Democrats to block the national emergency that President Trump declared so he could build his border wall with Mexico. The rejection capped a week of confrontation with the White House as both parties in Congress strained to exert their power in new ways. The 59-41 tally Thursday, following the Senate's vote a day earlier to end U.S. involvement in the war in Yemen, promised to force Trump into the first vetoes of his presidency. Trump had warned against both actions. 12 GOP senators, including the party's 2012 presidential nominee, Mitt Romney of Utah, joined the dissent over the emergency declaration order that would enable the president to seize for the wall billions of dollars Congress intended elsewhere. Thursday's vote was the first direct challenge to the 1976 National Emergencies Act, just as Wednesday's on Yemen was the first time Congress invoked the decades-old War Powers Act to try to rein in a president. Even though there's not likely to be enough numbers to override a veto, the votes nevertheless sent a message from Capitol Hill. A White House official said Trump won't forget when senators who oppose him want him to attend fundraisers or provide other help. The official spoke on condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to speak publicly on internal deliberations. 2 top executives at Facebook are leaving as part of a new chapter for the social media network. CEO Mark Zuckerberg made the announcement Thursday that Chief Product Officer Chris Cox and WhatsApp Vice President Chris Daniels are departing amid Facebook's push to rebuild Facebook with stronger privacy in mind. Cox has a 13-year history with Facebook, starting as one of the company's first 15 engineers, who then worked his way up the ranks. In his own Facebook post Thursday, he said the company will forever be a part of his life. The departure comes less than 2 weeks after Zuckerberg announced a shift in Facebook's focus toward privacy after years of criticism over the company's handling of users' personal data. He offered little in the way of specifics, but did announce a plan to merge messaging services through Messenger, Instagram, and WhatsApp. Daniels, meanwhile, headed up WhatsApp since co-founder John Coombs' departure in April. Coombs said he left after clashes with Facebook over its privacy issues. Facebook came under scrutiny last year after it was revealed the company allowed data mining firm Cambridge Analytica to gain access to millions of users' personal information. Tesla unveiled its highly anticipated new Model Y compact SUV, which CEO Elon Musk said would release in the fall of 2020. The Model Y will release at a starting price of $47,000 for the long-range model, with a more standard $39,000 model to release in the spring of 2021. Musk made the announcement in a live-streamed event from the company's Los Angeles design studio Thursday night. Upgraded dual-motor all-wheel drive and performance models will also be available in the fall for $51,000 and $60,000 respectively. The compact SUV, which Musk compared to a larger version of the company's Model 3 sedan, will have a range of 300 miles and the capability to increase in speed from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 3.5 seconds. Musk said it has the functionality of an SUV, but rides like a sports car. It also features a panoramic glass roof, seating for 7, and will come feature complete with autopilot sometime later this year. And that's your update for this Friday, March 15th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.